Hello, friends! This is People Are Interesting with Jan K. In each episode of this show, unique individuals share stories that take us on a ride across ideas and places, featuring crocodile attacks in Indonesia, escaping war-torn Lebanon, and shark protection schemes in Mauritania. This podcast takes you where you've never been before. Enjoy and thank you for joining the club. And we're running. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. It's lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too, Jan.
Yeah. So today we have a very special guest who actually at some point was a refugee, right?
I guess technically yes, but I definitely was from the much more privileged side of the refugee scale.
Lavish refugee.
A lavish refugee, I guess. I escaped the war in Lebanon, but I was able to make my way to France with my parents and my siblings. But we lived a very good life in France, and it was very easy for us. But the escaping was the hard part.
So maybe let's dial it back a little bit. When was that? When you had to run away from Lebanon?
2006.
What happened then?
There was a 1.5 month long war with Israel. And most people stayed in Lebanon during that war. A lot of people left because they thought it would be longer.
Right.
But we left after a few weeks because my sister was very traumatized and was very scared. And my parents thought it would be better to leave so she wouldn't go through more of it. But we left by car because we missed the boats that take you out. The French and British boats. So we left by car. We went to Syria, and from Syria we took a plane to France.
Oh wow! Okay,
Yeah.
so 2006, the war. What happened? Because you mentioned that it was a short war.
It was kind of a power play by Israel. I'm not exactly sure of the details. I haven't looked into that war too much. But yeah, more like. It was not long after the war before that, and they tried to make a bit of a power play. Hezbollah kidnapped a few Israeli soldiers, and they found that to be a great excuse to go and bomb and do it. Yeah.
Right. So you lived in Beirut at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, so you lived in Beirut. How old were you?
I was 6,
Right.
because I'm born in 2000. And so I only remember some flashes, I don't remember it to be very traumatizing. I'm sure my sister does because she's much older than me, and maybe my brother too, but I remember it to be something like very action-y and almost like an action movie in real life.
Right.
Especially when we were in the car and the Israelis were bombing other cars. That was very action-y for me, like as a child. When we were swerving around trying to get out of the way of the fighting.
Wait, so the war erupts and there are planes, aircrafts flying and dropping bombs on Beirut? What's going on?
Modern wars are practically mostly bombing. And that's pretty much most people's experience of the war. Them being in the basement while bombs are going off up in the sky, I guess.
Right.
And they usually bomb the important things like water, electricity, and like government buildings for sure, stuff like that. And then they go to more civilian stuff. But in that very short war, there weren't a lot of casualties, not a lot of civilian casualties. But a lot of people were afraid that it was going to be like the Civil War, like somewhere like much worse, so they did leave. A lot of people left during that war.
So the war erupts. You stay in Beirut for a couple of days. Wow, you shelter in your cellar, or what are you doing?
We actually had already moved to Paris because the situation wasn't great, and we were moving back to Lebanon, and then the war erupted. While a few months into us moving back to Lebanon, the war erupted, so we had to leave again. So we left and we lived in Paris a few more years, and then went back to Lebanon to live for a bunch of years as well, until like the end of high school. But yeah, so yeah, we went for a few months. It was the summer. We're like having a nice summer in Lebanon, and the war erupted. It was very dramatic, very like both sides were to blame, especially the Hezbollah, and yeah, but it ended very fast. It ended very fast. We didn't go back though. My parents didn't want to risk it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just really curious about specific details of literally all, what was going on almost like minute by minute. So the war erupts.
Oh.
What is it like going then? Like,
Oh,
do you
like
have
what
any?
do we do when the war?
Yeah, do you have a protocol? Do you have like backpacks
Everyone
packed?
goes, yeah.
What people do? Because there was war in Lebanon in
But
like the
way
90s,
before.
right?
Yeah, way before. Yeah. People usually hoard banks whenever there are any kind of crises, so they try and take out as much cash as they can in case the banks erupt.
Right.
They take in as much, like, long-lasting food as possible, nappies, all that kind of stuff, and then we all go to the basement and we wait. It's very organized and disorganized at the same time, because you gotta keep living life, but you gotta also, protect yourself. So
Right.
basements were the big thing. Everyone, like most buildings in Lebanon, have really large basements. We have a very, very large basement in our building, where now it's been turned to a gym because we're not using it for work, but like usually it's a basement, huge basement, so that people can protect themselves. And yeah, that's pretty much what happens usually. There's lots of some bunkers. There's actually a bunker in Lebanon that a few years after this war has been turned into a nightclub because it wasn't used anymore. Very, very big bunker that's now a nightclub. It's actually a little fun fact. And yeah, but minute by minute, I guess it's mostly you go to the basement and you wait. A lot of people... The Civil War was much worse, so a lot of people have long stories of what they used to do in those basements during the Civil War. People would compete as to how much they could read or stuff like that. Like little children would like find fun games. But honestly, people were living life. The Civil War was 15 years, so people had to live their life. The other war, the 2006 one, wasn't as bad, so people were still living.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually have a funny bunker story as
Go
well.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went to Russia, and there is quite close to the border with Kazakhstan. There is this city called Samara, and when in the Second World War, when the Nazis attacked, Soviet Union,
Yeah.
The top guys from the Communist Party, they basically dug in complete secrecy a special bunker for Stalin in case Moscow falls to the Nazis. And I went to see it. It's obviously for quite a long time they didn't tell anyone that it's there.
Yeah.
'Cause imagine, a country like Soviet Union was in a pretty bad spot at some point in the World War II, right? They thought that they actually might lose the war. So if the nation and the soldiers who were fighting would find out that, the leader dug himself a really nice and deep bunker far away from Moscow in case, shit hits the fan. I don't know how brave they would be still, fighting and standing up to Nazis.
Yeah.
So they didn't tell anyone. But now there's this bunker. It's a tourist attraction, and it's hilarious. You can buy badges with like face of Stalin on it. There are all the kinds of memorabilia with Stalin himself, which is nowadays you don't really see that. It's basically like you would have like a cap with like face of Hitler.
Yeah.
But like it's not perceived as something weird or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just tourists.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean,
so crazy.
yeah, but also probably a lot of Russians still think Stalin was a great guy. You know, that he was cruel, yes, but he was also a great guy. He was like a statesman.
That
which
he
is
did
very
good for the country.
Exactly. He won the war. Only 20 million people died in the process. Most of them civilians. I mean, to be fair, like a lot of them was fatalities of like Nazis atrocities, right? But a lot of probably surely for sure. But if we're talking about starvation, have you heard about the great famine in
Ireland?
No, in Ukraine in the 30s. Have you heard about that?
No.
So the communists engineered a huge short lack of food in Ukraine, and I want to say that few million people died.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the most gory things ever. Yeah, because they were trying to take collectivize farmers in Ukraine, because Ukraine has very fertile soil, so you can grow crops really well there. But traditionally, before communism, you would have a lot of private farmers, and obviously when communism came, they wanted to take the land from them and turn it into like those industrial farms where nobody owns anything. And obviously, so the owners would be like, no, like we won't have any of this, and so they would be hiding crops and stuff like that underground, like they would dig holes, and so the Soviets were like, okay, that's how you want to play. Let's play this game. So they like starved everyone there.
Whoa.
It was horrible.
That's really horrible.
Yeah. It was
when starvation is a weapon of war, it's messed up.
Yeah. But I think in Ireland they killed like 1 million people as well.
They killed.
It was pretty bad.
But that's true.
They
100%.
They don't. I think Irish, like sometimes I spoke to Irish and they refer to this as genocide. To what happened in Ireland.
That's
like
great,
that the British basically killed like a lot of big
starved them out.
Exactly. So it's a bit unfortunate.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah, but sorry, it's just we started with a bunker story. The bunker story, and so people were kind of going back to the war in Lebanon. So people were. So first, let's say your family, you would stay in your basement for a while. And then you made a decision. We need to move. What was why you decided not to just stay in the basement? Why you decided to go out? Because I would imagine it's quite dangerous, right? If there's war, bombs are falling. It's quite dangerous to like take your family and leave. So,
I think. Like to start, I'd say everyone reacts differently to war and bombs and listening, like hearing them. A lot of people, I wouldn't say get used to it, but take it, like are able to digest it like better during the war. My sister did not. She cried every single time there were bombs, and she was old. It's not like a child. She was really, really, really scared. And after a few weeks of that, my parents decided to leave because it was really, really traumatizing her. But if my sister wasn't feeling that way, we probably would have stayed, because that's what like unless you're leaving with the boats with the French and British, it's usually better to just wait it out until it's safe to go, and it was not safe to go because we were almost like pretty much bombed.
Right, so you make a decision to go. You get in the car.
To take us,
Oh, okay. So you hired someone to drive you.
Okay. Someone we knew, but like a driver.
Right.
Who knew the way really well and who was willing to take the risk for a bunch of money.
Right.
So we decided to take the risk, and.
So where did you have to drive?
To Syria.
So how far is it from Beirut?
I can't tell you exactly. I think. I don't know. Like maybe 60 kilometers.
Oh, okay. That's not far at all.
It's not very long. It's like, it's only a few hours. I think maybe it's a few hours. It's not very long. Probably more than 60, but like it's only a few hours. But there's only one road that takes you to Damascus.
Right.
At least one main road that takes you to Damascus, and the Israelis knew that, of course.
Okay.
So they had people there trying to blow up cars that were trying to escape, kind of thing, to scare people, I guess. But we didn't get blown up.
But so there would be soldiers?
Yeah, just blowing up. Like a truck next to us got blown up.
What do you mean next to you?
Like driving, like in front of us got blown up, and we had to swerve to
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's very like action movie-ish kind of thing, but I don't remember it as being traumatizing for myself. But that's because I was 6, and I guess my parents were trying to make it not traumatizing for me. But my sister, for example, really hates Lebanon. She's never lived there. She's never wanted to live there. And by the time I started living there, she was already in university. And she never whenever we go to Lebanon, she stays 1-2 weeks maximum, and she leaves.
Wow.
She really does not like
Lebanon.
Lebanon.
After what happened?
Yeah, she thinks it's horrible, that the people there are horrible.
Oh.
She really doesn't like it, yeah.
Interesting.
But I love it. I love Lebanon, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
So, you were driving to Syria, and they were, what was it like an RPG or something?
Yeah.
Jesus
like
Christ!
Cars,
So you could.
I don't know if they were actually RPGing civilians. Hopefully not. But they were just blowing up some cars just to scare people away, kind of thing.
Why? Do you know why would they want to do that? That sounds so crazy.
I think it's kind of like what would you call that?
Like psychological warfare?
Yeah, kind of like that, of course they're not going to kill a lot of people doing that, but because at some point someone looks at it and they're like, oh, they're RPGing cars, maybe I shouldn't go.
Oh, wow.
But I think, more like psychologically, you're trapped kind of thing. Yeah.
So, luckily you drove to Syria, you went to Damascus, or?
Damascus. And from there we took a plane. There it was very peaceful. Back then Damascus, Syria was the safe haven back then. Yeah.
Little did they know they only have 5 more years of that. Little did they know.
Now they escaped to ours. Yeah.
Right.
But now it's better, a bit better. But
is there a lot of Syrian refugees in Lebanon now, these days?
Yeah, a lot of Syrian refugees in Lebanon.
Because they mostly went to Turkey, right? I think
Turkey and Jordan. Germany,
those who made it to
none
Germany.
In the UAE or Saudi Arabia. No,
they don't take them.
No, they don't take them. They pay, but they don't take them.
So they pay for them to stay in Jordan or something.
Yeah, they pay charity stuff.
Oh, I see.
Just to be nice, I guess. But no, they don't.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think it's mostly just because of a superiority complex with the government. They think they're better.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, but they didn't take anyone, so I'm guessing they have some kind of problem because they have a huge country and they don't want to take anyone.
Or they already have enough of laborers from Bangladesh.
Yeah,
they can't.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess they have enough laborers already. Yeah. There's a lot in Turkey actually. A lot of Syrian refugees in Turkey. A lot of them working in farms and hazelnut farms.
Because I think when they. Can they work there legally? Syrians? Do you know anything about them?
I mean, wherever there isn't that much order, you can work illegally. So Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, you can definitely work illegally, yeah.
Fair. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, because you said something that I find interesting, which is, are there within Middle East and all the Middle Eastern states, is there a hierarchy? Because how do you let's say in Europe, right? I am from Poland, and basically it's mostly economic development, how much money you have, people in, let's say, the west of Europe will be like, oh, those people from like Polish plumbers or
Yeah.
Polish, Romanian waiters, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like they just come here and they're not, well, obviously not everyone, but like to oversimplify it, the way it works is, within Europe there are different stratas, right?
Yeah.
There is a hierarchy of countries. Is there a similar thing in Middle East?
I think definitely there's a social hierarchy in the Middle East.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think definitely the UAE and Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, they all kind of go higher.
They have that oil money.
They have the oil money, exactly, yeah. And they manage to use it right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Algeria has a lot of oil money, but you don't see them as high as,
Yeah.
Yeah, or Libya. Libya has a lot of oil money, but they were so corrupt with a complete insane dictator that it didn't work out.
Although I heard, obviously, I don't know that much about it, but I heard that it was better during Gaddafi.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
Yeah, there was like farm. I mean, obviously, whatever you would say, it was always better because now that the country doesn't function anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same case with Syria. Like, was it better before 2011? Probably, but you can only judge it like it's easy to judge from the hindsight. Like, the idea was good. Like, let's introduce democracy and stuff like that. So let's try to make it even better.
Yeah, but in Syria now the president has won the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
right.
So he's back.
Yeah. It's he's like a super villain, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
He's like,
for me, he is.
Yeah. He is like
definitely. For most people, he is.
He could be like a book villain.
Yeah, no, 100% he could be. Yeah.
Have you heard?
But a lot of people support him blindly.
But is it because he's an Alawi?
So I think as part of it is because he's an Alawi, but a part of it is a like very toxic like culture in the Middle East of following the big strong guy kind of thing.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing. Like whoever can protect you and provide, you follow them blindly. You don't even care what they do. You'll follow them blindly.
It's so hilarious that he is an ophthalmologist.
Yeah, he's very intelligent. The guy. He studied here. He's very, very.
Oh yeah, he studied
in
London.
He didn't want to be president.
Right.
Yeah, but then he became president. Then he became a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's a horrible human being that rules the country. Yeah.
Well, he learned from his dad, hasn't he?
He learned from his dad. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he really messed. Like he's really messed up. The guy.
Yeah. Well, in a way, he probably wouldn't be there if not for Russia. I don't know who else supports him. Iran. I don't know if.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, a lot of people support Russia because they have a naval base in Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iran because
is the the Shia Muslims in Iran kind of in cahoots with the Alawis because it's like, correct me, my understanding of this surely isn't perfect, but Alawis are like a sect, like a part of what are they?
They're how can I call it?
So
they're
would
a
they
type
be
of Muslim, just like Shia and Sunni.
And Sunni, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but they are closer to Shia rather than Sunni, right?
Oh, that I'm not sure actually. I don't know anyone Alawi, so I wouldn't know for sure what like religiously how close they are to anything.
Okay.
But they're a minority in Syria.
Yeah, like a total minority, right? It's like 5%.
Yeah, 2 to 5%.
Yeah.
And but they rule Syria.
Right.
But I don't think they all follow Assad, especially after everything is done. I think it's mostly people who wanted money and dollars who follow Assad, and the rest don't. Yeah, I mean, everyone in Syria has lost someone to the war, and it's probably because of the Russians or Assad, not because of the revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty interesting. It's an interesting mosaic, what's going on in the Middle East in the sense that, imagine, obviously it might be a fairly selfish point of view to like try to convert everything into like how it is in Europe, but it's mostly because like, I only know Europe quite well, let's say, because I lived here, So I'm just trying to imagine how it would work in Europe if, let's say, German Lutherans, ones, let's say, who live in, let's even begin that nobody in Europe is that religious anymore.
Yeah.
But it would be like, you know, German Lutherans hate, let's say, Anglicans or something like that, and they want to like kill each other. It's so interesting that in the Middle East
there's such a divide
along those lines, right?
Yeah.
Because arguably you have one divide, which is there actually, even in your opinion, a divide? Like, is there such thing as nation state in the Middle East, or it has never really caught on? It's more still like tribes and religion, what sect you belong to, what kind of.
I think no. There's definitely different countries in the Middle
Yeah.
East, and they definitely believe like in the different countries. The different sects and tribes. I think different religions are the big thing. Shia and Sunni. That's a big thing because, you know, like Saudi Arabia is mostly Sunni, Iran is mostly Shia, and they fight all the time. But to be honest, in Lebanon, a lot of people are Shia, a lot of people are Sunni, and they don't fight all the time. Only people in the Hezbollah fight with everyone, like a lot of people, and like some really intense Sunnis fight with the Hezbollah, you know? So militia people fight, but not just religious normal people. Religion is beautiful and peaceful. Militias are horrible and violent, and they use religion as an excuse.
But what I'm kind of trying to figure out is, you know, let's say in Poland the national identity is largely built around the statehood, you know, the state, the shared history, the shared language, stuff like that. And same in the UK, same with France. But in the Middle East, let's say, what is national identity built around in Lebanon? What is it?
I think at least people who still love Lebanon because of everything it's done to them now, but like people who like deep in their heart still love their country, I think they're really proud of Lebanon and all the history it's got, and you know, like everything that's happened and how they've survived, and how Lebanon, I think it was on some kind of a top 10 in the UN stuff or something, but it was the country that can sustain and rebuild the fastest, you know. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like after 2006, they rebuilt in a year. After the Civil War, they rebuilt instantly. They rebuilt so fast. You know, they can get through so much. Like, they're very tough. But, you know, it's a country that's gotten a lot of unfair deals, you know.
Right.
I mean, after the Civil War, the deal that stopped the Civil War, people thought it was a bit messed up, but also good because it stopped war. But now it started a new problem, you know, like the financial crisis and the 2006 war. These were all kind of like, these all started after the Civil War, if that makes sense to you. Like, the deal they made after the Civil War was to give each one of the big generals of those militias a part of Lebanon, and like, but they just have to give back give the weapons away. Like, but some of them didn't. Some of them kept their weapons.
Right.
The Hezbollah kept their weapons.
So what each party got in? You mean like
money,
a geographic part of
and
the country, literally, or they
like,
run different parts
they run,
of the country?
They run like they got power in the government, and they kind of run different parts of the country without like not. You won't see it, but if you run a business in a part of it, you'll have to pay a tax to that person, you know.
Oh, really?
So like, yeah, it's very. There is a lot of a sect thing going on, without you ever having to identify with it, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of people have. I mean, for example, the biggest university in Lebanon, AUB, very very big. It's an American University of Beirut. They have elections every year, you know, just like us with the student union.
Yeah.
They have kind of the same thing, except that it's political parties that are running, actual like Lebanese political parties that run.
Right.
And whoever wins is like the political party who won. Like, it's a mini Lebanon and like the biggest university in Lebanon. And it's weird, you know, it's very weird, like the power that those political parties have, even in education, which is supposed to be, you know, no religion involved, no politics, you know, but no, it's everywhere. Yeah. Um,
How the how does that manifest itself in daily life?
um, I think there are ways you, like, for example, you can't. There's different colors you shouldn't be wearing because they might represent a specific political party. Different areas you shouldn't go to because they're dangerous.
In what sense they are dangerous?
Some of them, like for example, an area that's very close to like a Palestinian refugee camp. The Palestinian refugee camps have a lot of weapons, and it's a tiny bit dangerous, you know, if you're wearing something too fancy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go to a Hezbollah Shia area because you know you don't know them. They don't know you. Um, but of course, like you can do it. There is no like actual like border, and everyone's like, no, stop. This is not an area for you. But it's like if you want to be careful about those things. You know, you want to know where you're going. The parts of Lebanon. There's a lot of poverty. You know, like it's getting worse as well with the financial crisis. A lot more theft, a lot more, you know. But you know, I personally am surprised it hasn't turned violent. In other countries in the Middle East, yeah, like I know, I'm sure you've heard like of the Arab Spring and whatever. Like it's always turned violent, but in Lebanon it hasn't turned violent, and people have a lot of weapons
Just
in Lebanon.
eat baklava and dance on the street.
Yeah, but people are patient, you know. Nothing's happening, and still people are not didn't turn violent, and it's a very good thing, you know. Like if it does turn violent, it will go into complete chaos with all the different militias and political sects. Like who are you fighting if you fight, you know? It's not one dictator, it's 12 political sects that rule the country, you know, and one gigantic militia from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I guess you can't actually be violent against anyone specific because you don't know who's actually like, yeah, like too
Mhm.
many people are ruling the country.
Wait, so in a nutshell,
Mm.
would you be able to or try to explain how this division works? Who is who?
Oh no, there's too many. It's a bit hard in a nutshell, but like there's a bunch of very powerful politicians, a bunch of a bit less powerful politicians. They each have their own like political sect. In the Civil War, they were actual militias that fought against each other. Some of them Christian, some of them Muslim, different parts of Christianity, different parts of Muslim, like Islam.
Okay, so
Shia, Sunni, Christian, Maronites, whatever. Like, yeah, like it's different parts of everything.
Mhm.
And they all fought in the Civil War. And then the Israelis got involved, the Hezbollah got involved, so everyone gets involved in Middle Eastern wars all the time.
But
And
is it like a religious division? Is how you apportion power within Lebanon, or is it something else? Is the criteria different?
I think the religious division is between Sunni and Shia, but it's only because the political sect that rules the Shia, like in parentheses, is the Hezbollah, and they're a militia. And there are many Sunni political sects, and many Shia political sects too, like Amal is another very powerful Shia political sect that pretty much answer to the Hezbollah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're just divided, they're very divided. And I think if I have Shia friends, I have Sunni friends, I have Christian friends, we do not care about all of that. But once you are like a huge, like radicalized like person belonging to one political sect, then instantly you start really caring what everyone is, you know? Like you start really caring who supports what, you know? Kind of like here, I guess in a way you could compare it to football. Like you know how here in the UK people support football radically? And
Yes.
like sometimes they go as far as not wanting to be friends with people who support the opposing team. it's kind of the same, but with political sects and violence, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they used to have in the UK, I think up until the 90s, huge problem with hooligans.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like football hooligans, but with guns and much more violence and much more radicalism. Yeah.
Wait, so is religious radicalism a problem in Lebanon, or would you say it isn't?
I'd say religious radicalism is a problem in the whole of the Middle East, including Lebanon for sure. But I think it's more of a problem in other parts of the Middle East, and I think it's more money and politics in Lebanon that's the problem. I think it's not religion. It's not religious radicalism in Lebanon. It's mostly political radicalism.
Really?
Yeah, because of course there are there's ISIS and there's that kind of stuff, but it's not. There's attacks sometimes, but it's not actually that's not a problem. Everyone's against them, Like all of those political sects are against that. But yeah, I guess religious radicalism, they use it as an excuse, but it's mostly the political sects with the front of religion, they're doing it for Allah, but actually they're not.
I see.
Because that's not religion. Islam is beautiful. This is not beautiful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. And let me just think how to phrase it.
Do you think there's a lot of religion in Poland? Like a lot of religious radicalism in Poland?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah?
Of course.
Yeah.
yeah, there is. So Poland is an interesting case because there is a solid argument to be made that during communism, church played a vital part in helping the country turn the corner,
Yeah.
It was important for people on a personal level, but also on kind of like a systemic level. But after the fall of communism, I feel like something kind of changed. And it seems now that it's more about power.
Yeah.
The church seems to want to have power, not only maintain what it has, but also expand the power. And the ruling party is closely connected to church. The previous party that was ruling in Poland for 8 years, which was center-right, the current party is way more nationalistic/populistic, right-wing. So the previous one wasn't very church-affiliated at all.
Yeah.
But the current one relies on church heavily. And it's definitely a case that people in Poland are religious. And that's not a bad thing, because as you said, there's definitely a lot of good values in religion as such, right? Help the other person, I don't know, be humble, I'm completely out of my depth what religions are saying, to be fair. But it's not a bad thing per se, right?
No.
The problem is it is a little bit of a bad thing because in Poland, church is the main driving force against LGBTQ plus community. This is definitely, and this is strongly attached to religion because apparently, I don't know if that's even the case. Somewhere in the Bible, you have something against homosexualism, and so this is definitely bad, and it's clearly hindering the development of the society towards more inclusive society. So that sucks because you have gay people in whatever society, and it goes without saying that they should just do whatever the fuck they want, and it shouldn't be anyone's business. But in Poland, it is everyone's business what those people are doing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it kind of sucks. And it's not going in a good direction at all. In the sense that the society is becoming more and more divided.
Yeah.
There is the, us versus them.
Mm.
And it's not good. It's never good.
Yeah, yeah.
But going back to Lebanon, before, the explosion in Beirut this summer,
Oh, yeah.
there was already a huge financial crisis in Lebanon.
It wasn't as big, but there was a financial crisis, yeah.
Right.
It was starting to get worse. But after the bomb, it actually became completely like full-fledged financial crisis, Now, I mean, I'll say the numbers, but the dollar was the lira was valued at 1,500 to $1. Now it's valued around like an average of like 11 to 12,000 for the dollar, which is almost tenfold, like eightfold, tenfold kind of thing. It's huge, which means that I mean, just shopping for food is super expensive now.
Yeah.
Like people have to use like a quarter or half their salary to shop for food.
Yeah, because what I know from my personal reading is that Lebanon is extremely dependent on importing food
Yeah,
and
80%, yeah.
importing everything basically. So
Yeah,
obviously,
80% of everything that's sold in Lebanon pretty much is imported.
really.
So it's imported and
Why would you guys not produce anything? What's
we're
the,
a very small country.
what's the problem?
We're a
But you
super
also don't
small
have a lot of
country, yeah.
people, right?
We don't have. Yeah, we only have like 4 million.
Do you not have fertile soil and like everything? What's the
I guess
problem?
there's just not enough space as well. Like it's a very small country. I mean, with a super corrupt government that doesn't allow you to do anything, pretty much, steals your money, like never invests in good infrastructure for that kind of stuff.
Right.
So at the end of the day, people were trying to just survive on what they had, and live a good life.
Mm-hmm.
But with that kind of financial crisis, no one can live a good life, Like, now 50% of the population is under the poverty line and needs aid, Like, that was not the case, like, 10 years ago, That, and Lebanon's golden age in the 60s, everyone was, like, doing really well.
Really?
Yeah.
What
it
was
was
why?
the Switzerland of the Middle East, Lebanon.
That's what you were calling it?
Yeah. Now
Why
it's
were you
still-
doing so good?
I think I actually don't know why it was so good in the 60s. I think it was modernizing, It was kind of like Afghanistan before the war, like really doing well, building, like modernizing, having a lot of tourism. It was just doing plain good, Lebanon has so much potential, history. It has so much history that can bring in tourism. It has a lot of good soil that can do beautiful things like olives and bananas and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
The sea, that could bring in a lot of tourism, fishing, I guess, as well. Just lots of stuff.
I actually heard that in Beirut there is a huge problem with drinking water because after the civil war or one of the wars, they have built those tanks for drinking water, but they've built them too close to the sea, so the salty water is seeping through somehow.
No one drinks tap water in Lebanon.
So you need to buy bottled water.
Yeah, you drink only bottled water.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you wash?
Tap
But
water.
can you wash
It's not
yourself?
even a thing there.
But you can take a shower.
Yeah, and it's cleaned water when you take a shower. Like you can't drink the water. You take a shower and like it's not good. But yeah, no, people take a shower with the water that's provided. But even sometimes people, like a lot of the time now, with all of that stuff happening and a lot of problems with the water, people don't take water with the water that's provided. People get water given to their building, like in trucks. Like trucks come,
Really?
fill up the building's tank.
Oh
and
wow.
people take shower with that water, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, the water is very bad.
That sounds super inefficient.
Electricity is really bad in Lebanon.
Really?
So a lot of homes, like, in the poorer areas, almost don't have electricity, like 3-4 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps getting cut all the time. The government provides nothing, like very, very little electricity. Well, they provide some for some areas and very little for other areas, and so people buy generators to make electricity, and if they have money, they can keep it on. If they don't, um, well, they can't buy the like petrol and the gas for it, so
Yeah.
they can't keep it on. So they'd have to live off candles and.
Wait, so on one hand, you're saying that Lebanon is extremely resilient.
Yeah, but they're resilient because they're surviving that, you know.
Oh, right.
The government is horrible, but the people are resilient.
Why is the government horrible?
They're corrupt. They're very corrupt. For years, they were just stealing money. There was even there was actually a transport tax in Lebanon
Mm-hmm.
For trains,
Mm-hmm.
but there were no trains. We
Oh.
don't have trains in Lebanon.
Really? You don't have any
No,
train
we
lines?
don't have any train lines. So there was a tax for it that was taking millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
but there was actually no trains, so it was going nowhere. It was going into the pockets of politicians. Same with a lot of different things, you know.
How is the society not doing anything about it?
Well, there was a revolution. So the year before last year, there was a revolution.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about it.
Yeah, there was.
Wait,
a
what was going
revolution.
on?
Very peaceful revolution.
How did it start?
It started. Actually, funny enough, it started right after there was a WhatsApp tax. That was
WhatsApp tax.
a WhatsApp. You know WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, of course.
So people don't call on the normal line; they call on WhatsApp because it's free, right?
Yeah.
And politicians saw that everyone was using WhatsApp, and they were like, "Wow, now we can put even more money into our pocket. So let's make a WhatsApp."
They come
tax.
up with a WhatsApp tax?
They came up with a WhatsApp tax.
That's hilarious.
And everyone went crazy when that happened. They took it back. They didn't do it
Right.
at the end. But people went crazy because they'd had enough, you know. Of course, it wasn't the WhatsApp tax that started it. But, like, yeah, like, the WhatsApp tax was that, like, final blow that everyone went just crazy on.
Right.
And the revolution started then. It went on for almost a year. And then it kind of died down when nothing was happening.
Wait, so what the revolution was? What was it? What exactly was it?
Just a lot of people protesting,
Okay.
almost like every week, every day. Sometimes it's really big protests. Protests everywhere in the world because there are a lot of Lebanese people everywhere in the world.
Right.
But it was all very peaceful. Actually, sometimes politicians themselves hired people to go to the protest and like do chaos, like chaosy stuff.
Yeah.
So they'd stop the protest. Like the police would stop the protest.
A
but
classic move, by the way.
the classic move,
subversion.
a lot of stuff do
Yeah.
that. You know, yeah, a lot of politicians everywhere in the world, and yeah, I
Agent
think,
provocateur.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, we stopped the protest because it was violent, but they made it violent. You know,
Exactly.
yeah. But you know, it was really beautiful. Even soldiers were like siding on with the civilians, even police sometimes. It was like really great, and then it kind of died down slowly because the prime minister resigned, which was a huge like win, but then he came back.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
he got really like he came back,
Really?
and you know, and then it kind of died down. It revived a little bit after the bomb, but after the financial crisis, no one had the motivation anymore. You know.
Wait, so was the revolution a result of the financial crisis, or?
It was a result of the corruption, the beginning of the financial crisis. It wasn't full on financial crisis when the revolution was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a beginning, a bit of a heightened price,
Mm-hmm.
stuff going bad, like obviously going bad. Money just like debt, government debt, just like the country's debt is so high,
Right.
much higher than the GDP.
Right.
And people knew where this was going, you know, like a lot of people.
Oh
are
yes, I
intelligent,
think that's
so-
how it started, right?
Yeah.
You didn't manage to renegotiate the
Yeah,
paying back of your
exactly,
national
yeah.
debt.
And
Oh yeah.
people started uncovering all of the like private stuff from the politicians,
Mm-hmm.
like all of the where the money was going actually, and obviously most of the money was going into politicians' personal like accounts, you know, to their pockets, and people were going crazy because of that, you know, like it was insane to them that
Yeah.
like all of the money was going nowhere, you know?
Right.
Like, yeah, going to those politicians, and yeah, they wanted everyone gone. Like, everyone from the old guard, you know, from the Civil War times,
Yeah.
they wanted them all gone.
Wait, so if you walk on the street of Beirut, what is it like? Is there huge, you can see clearly huge economic inequality? Is Beirut pretty like
So,
equal? What is going on?
so in Beirut, central Beirut, you don't see it as much.
Mm-hmm.
You go towards further away, you'll see it much more. The poverty is super. You can see the poverty.
Really?
You honestly see it.
What do you see?
Just a lot of beggars, a lot of just like people trying to survive on very little.
Mm-hmm.
Houses built of plastic, kind of like the typical, like very very
The third world kind
and
of
just,
vibe.
Yeah, but that's more on the refugee campsites. But like just like people trying to make it with nothing, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just going into a shop, you talk to someone and they're just depressed. You know, like it's just actually the one thing I felt the most the last time I was there, and that was a year and a bit ago. Because I haven't been able to go because of COVID and the crisis and all of that stuff. But the last time I went, it was so depressing, you know, that people were they were angry, but they just didn't have the motivation to be angry and do something about it anymore. They were just depressed, really depressed. People in Lebanon are very depressed right now. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, how would you feel? You know, like.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that like people saved money in banks, you know, saved a lot of money, and now they can't access it.
Really?
Yeah, there is no money pretty much. Like all the money they saved is now nothing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've mentioned something that I find quite interesting. You've mentioned those refugee camps.
Mm-hmm.
What, have you ever been to one?
Myself, no. My brother, yes. I haven't been to one, no. I've seen many refugees. I've worked with many refugees, but having been to a camp,
in Lebanon,
no.
or
In Lebanon and here, in Lebanon, yeah, we would work with them in Beirut, especially during the month of Ramadan.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'd always do charity runs, just either collecting money or food or clothes, that kind of stuff.
But which refugees would you help? Any particular refugees, or?
A while back it would be Palestinian, then it became Syrian, mostly Syrian. There's always someone to help in Lebanon. The Lebanese people, I mean,
Right.
you're helping Lebanese people a lot of the time as well because of now them being in such a desperate situation. So, I think, I think it's just sad. It's just very sad there.
Which country traditionally Lebanon has good relationship with in the Middle East?
Syria.
Syria.
Yeah, the closest thing like to Lebanon is Syria, and they had a very very good relationship with Syria.
Is there a big cultural difference between Syria and Lebanon?
No,
No.
they're very close. Culturally, yeah, very close. Most Lebanese are probably like half Syrian, you know.
Oh, really?
And same with Syria is much bigger, but a lot of people in Syria are Lebanese or half Lebanese at least. So yeah, no, it's very close to Syria. Egypt as well, a lot of close stuff with Egypt. A bit of Jordan as well, but mostly Syria and Egypt.
What about Turkey?
There's definitely a sense of Turkey in Lebanon, but not that much, not as much. No, it's mostly Syria and Egypt.
I was always curious. I feel like we talked about it before, because I'm always very curious about the dialects, because you have one language everywhere in the Middle East, right? Which is Arabic, I'm guessing. But individual countries have their own dialects. Is that
Definitely,
how it works?
Exactly. Yeah, and the dialects a lot of the time, like for example between Algeria, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't understand any of them.
Really?
Yeah,
like you would have
very
no clue what they're saying?
I'd have to like really concentrate, and they'd have to talk really slow for me to get some of the words they're saying, you know?
What about the written language?
No, exactly the same. News as well. If you
Really?
watch the news from Saudi Arabia or Algeria, you'll understand everything.
Oh.
Because there's a formal Arabic and there's a dialect Arabic. And
How-
the formal Arabic is the same for everyone.
How did that... Because this is such a smart thing.
Yeah, it's smart, yeah. So politicians, right, they'll talk in Arabic because they talk in formal Arabic.
But how did it came around, do you know?
I'm not sure actually. I think just like in Poland, you were talking to me about it, about how like different parts have different dialects.
It's not exactly like that in
No,
Poland.
how is it in Poland?
In Poland, it's more... So in Poland, there would be a few ethnic groups that maybe will have their own dialect here and there, but it's more like a relic.
Okay. It's a
Rather
relic,
than an
okay.
actual... Yeah, rather than an actual thing.
But here in the UK, you know, there are like different dialects as well, I feel. You know, if you go to Manchester, people are talking kind of different.
Wouldn't you mean accents?
Like accents, yeah. Oh, not different dialects, I guess.
Yeah.
But even in the accents, you know, there's lots of different words.
No,
They
no, that
use-
for sure.
Yeah.
That for sure.
And if they went further, if it actually
Yes.
like went into like dialect mode kind of thing, it would be a different language pretty much.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
agree.
like each word of those different words is taken from a word in English. If that makes
Yeah,
sense,
no,
yeah.
what exactly? But I find it really interesting. Do you think it's because you had like the Ottoman Empire and stuff like that?
Yeah,
that-
maybe it's that far. Yeah, I think so. I
that-
mean, it keeps changing as well. You know, like slowly it changes, and yeah, it's weird. Yeah, every country has their own dialect,
Lebanon has its own
different
dialect.
accent. Yeah, and Syria has their own dialect, like accent actually in the sense.
Oh, so if you go to Syria, you can understand.
I can
what they're saying.
understand.
Which
They
other
also have a bit of a different accent.
which other countries can you go
Egypt.
to? Egypt.
Yeah, I'll
They have
understand most of it.
Oh, okay.
Some of it I won't because it's a stronger dialect than Syria. But
Right.
Jordan as well, I understand.
So basically, the further you go, the harder it is. to understand.
Exactly, yeah. The further you go, the harder it gets to understand, yeah. Palestine, I understand everything for Palestine. They have an accent, like a bit of a dialect, but not that much.
Aha, I see. What about Iran?
Nothing.
Nothing. You
Nothing.
can't
But
understand
Iran also,
anything.
they speak in
Oh yeah, they speak like
Farsi,
Farsi,
don't
right? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Iraq, though, I understand some of it, yeah.
Oh.
I think Iraq, yeah, they speak in Arabic. So
Which
I-
other Middle Eastern countries have you visited?
I've been to Oman.
Oman.
Yeah, Oman.
What is it like there?
Very nice. Where I've been, it's very nice. I've heard that it's very poor in a lot of places,
Mhm.
but at least the capital where I've been was very, very nice.
Was
very
it-
clean.
What was the capital?
I can't remember. I think I'm not even sure anymore. I don't know. I don't know much about Oman.
Okay, fair.
But I've been to Dubai a few times.
Right.
Been to Syria during the war. I've been to Egypt.
Where?
In Egypt, I've been to Cairo. I think I've only been to Cairo in Egypt. That's very beautiful.
Really? Well,
I really
it's
like it.
really huge. I have a friend. I think she's gonna be on the podcast soon.
That's nice.
Yeah, because she lived in Cairo for a while.
It's beautiful, yeah.
It's a
got
huge
own
city,
culture.
20 million people.
Huge,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ,
yeah,
or
yeah.
even more, I think.
And it's got like almost, I feel like Cairo, like where I've been, and like the way my grandfather describes the rest of Egypt, I feel like Cairo has an own culture, you know, like
Yeah.
its own, like,
I mean, if 20
Yeah.
million people live there,
yeah,
like how many people live in Cairo? Let's see.
yeah, but like I don't know, like if you, yeah, I think some cities have their own culture almost. If you went to
10 million people.
10 million
In Cairo,
wow,
yeah.
that's very big.
Yeah, but you were going somewhere with the cities having their own
No, I mean
culture.
like here in the UK even, you know, like you will go to a different city and it feels different.
Yeah.
Feels very different, yeah.
Well, I guess you could go from East London to West London. It's gonna
It
feel
already
very
feels
different.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. They make their own culture in different places, you know.
Yeah. Have you heard that they in Egypt they want to they're kind of like already doing it, building new capital.
No, I haven't heard.
Yeah, so they want to move people away from Cairo because it's too it's too much.
Too busy.
Yeah, the infrastructure is really poor,
Yeah.
and it's hard to make. Apparently, it's hard to improve, so they want to rebuild, or not rebuild, build a new
Build
one
a new,
close to it.
Mm.
But apparently, it's so expensive to buy anything there that most people who live in Cairo can't afford anything there.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
They built a new. They built a new part of the Suez Canal.
Oh yeah.
That was a big thing with everything happening right now with the Suez Canal. As
Yeah.
well. Yeah. The president there is always trying to build new infrastructure. The new one.
What's his name?
Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is he a military guy?
He is a military guy. He's a general.
They all are. Which countries in the Middle East have non-military leader?
Ooh. The ones that have royals as leaders, so like
yes.
Saudi Arabia and
Right.
stuff, and UAE.
Right.
But to be honest, they're almost the same as the military ones because
Yeah.
they're as dictatorial as them, you know?
No, do you have one? I think Oman is. No, wait. Oman a democracy? No, I think they have it.
Has a king as well.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he died recently, actually.
He did die, yeah. Now
Yeah.
there's a new guy. The new one.
I'm trying to think. Is there any?
And
Tunisia.
Oh, well, he's a general as
Tunisia.
well.
No, in Tunisia you have democracy.
Yeah. Morocco is very democratic as well.
Really?
Yeah.
But
it's
you
more
don't you have a
democratic.
king there?
Morocco?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like at least their government is pretty. I don't know how powerful the king is in Morocco. I actually don't know much about Morocco. I just thought they're more democratic. You don't hear about problems in Morocco. Usually when there's a place in the Middle East that has a lot of problems, it's always on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, who else? I think. Yeah, no, I think they're very there's very little countries that have non-general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they say that Tunisia is the success of the Arab Spring, the only success of the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
Because 10 years after, they still are kind of like trying to, be democratic. But economically, I think they're not doing very well economically.
No, I don't think so. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of countries in the Middle East are doing well.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
The only ones are the ones with the royals, the UAE, the Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar. They're doing okay.
Do all Middle Eastern countries have oil?
No. Some of them have oil, don't dig it.
Oh, really?
Lebanon they say has oil, like gas, but they can't dig it because they don't know which political sect wants to go for it. So they keep fighting about it, but they never do it. I think Syria, some oil as well.
Syria definitely has oil.
Yeah, definitely has oil. Yeah. No, I think there definitely are Middle Eastern countries without as much oil. I think the rich, oil-rich countries are Algeria, Libya, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. I think we should wrap it up and have some lunch, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you very much for sharing insights about Lebanon. It was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was great.
And you're welcome to come again whenever you have
Would love
time.
to. Yeah, would love to.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye everyone.
Bye.